that what I do kind of resonates with like maybe Japanese and Korean game developers who who want to use music as a way to hit overseas markets.
Yep.
And I find that usually for them is that their home market might be a little bit saturated now. And I think it's about time that they use music as a way to not only to hedge any kind of fall on retention, but like basically how do you make the old feel new again, through music. So yeah, I seem to be like resonating, with these group of developers. Yeah.
And I think that reflects a lot of trends at the moment, because in my normal day job, I'm a copywriter as well at like a video game agency, and we've got a client who are like a analytics platform for mobile games basically, and we're seeing, and their analysts even are seeing more and more instances now of games in East Asia just like tapping into Western audiences, because they've kind of maxed out their UA in all of their like key target markets now. Do you know what I mean? Like that, for example, that Love and Deep Space, like that really hot, steamy dating sim, that's doing really well in the West at the moment, which is pretty unusual for a game with that kind of art style and aesthetic. Do you know what I mean? So I think we're seeing more of that. You look at everything that miHoYo is doing now with Zen the CERN Zero, that Zed collaboration that we spoke about last time. I think we'll see a lot more of that. Tiesto, sorry, not Zed. Zed just did a thing in Roblox, which was a massive flop. But that's Tiesto.
Yeah, so that's interesting, right? I think there's actually like I think those stories like should also get covered, right? Just to kind of let people know that it's not 100%. The hit rate is not 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I think there's some amazing stuff going on in Roblox, but it goes back to what I always laugh. Found out they've got 80 million daily active users now. Like for a while,
80 million now.
Yeah. I had that 80 million flying around, and I thought that 80 million was monthly, but it's daily, which is like absolutely wild. But then at the same time, as you'll know from being so close to the mobile market, it's not that wild when you look at games like PUBG Mobile and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So there are other games out there that are doing really cool stuff. I can't wait to see. I just wrote something in my latest newsletter just about virtual idols and like VTubers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see, and I think we're kind of seeing it already. So SM Entertainment basically just released their first like proper virtual artist.
I saw that. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Navis, I think. It's probably got a weird pronunciation, but she's popped up in like other music videos and stuff, and like they've created this whole interconnected world.
What do you mean pop up in other music? As in, like she became like a guest. Like
so
Easter egg on like other SM.
Navis made. I'll tell you what. Let me just double check the name of the K-pop group because I don't want to get it wrong. So this was a debut from Navis in the sense that she put out her first single, but she'd previously popped up in music videos and concerts for their other K-pop girl band, aespa. Yeah. So the whole idea of this, and like she was part of like.
So she was actually seeded as early
and was like part of their origin story, where she was literally like originally she was just like an AI system that was like thrown into their narrative, but now they've turned her into like an actual character. And when I was reading all of this, I was like, so this is kind of what like Riot was doing, right, with KDA. Do you know what I mean? Where you've not just got this group, you've got this group who has its own narrative arc. There's obviously a link to the game, and there's so many ways to play with that. And I think, not even think, like I know we're going to see it. Why have we not seen something like that with Genshin yet? Do you know what I mean? Or miHoYo doing like virtual bands and artists with their game characters. I think we're going to see a hell of a lot more of that, like in the coming weeks and coming months. And
I can only guess. I think on that point, I've spoken to their Shanghai HQ before, and I feel like there's a sense of like they didn't want to step on the toes of their composers and music supervisors. And I've asked them before. I'm like, what if we, pair you up with so and so producer and so and so artist, so that it's like 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
And then their response was something along the lines of, "Oh, they're very shy. I'm not sure would that work." Blah blah blah. So I think there's a bit of a probably like a mindset, like roadblock on their part. But it's weird. Like I don't know how the company works. Like I'm sure there might be some external forces. Like it might come down from the CEO to go, "Guys, fucking do something about this."
But even if you just look at like Korean companies and companies in China and Japan and stuff at the moment, like they're leading the way in the mobile market, right? Like I got bored the other day, logged into Sensor Tower and was like, I'm just gonna check out as you do, like on a weeknight. I was like,
bored. Let's open Sensor Tower.
I'm gonna check out like what the most popular, like most profitable rhythm games are like on mobile. In the top 10 highest grossing mobile games in the last 2 years, only 2 of those were from the West. One was Beatstar, obviously, which is like the Guitar Hero version for like mobile, basically developed by Space Ape Games. Yeah. The other one was, I forgot the name of it, just like this weird, quirky, like I think targeting at kids kind of thing. But all these other games, they're all either Bandai games. There was one Bandai game that has made more than 1 billion in lifetime revenue. I think it might have been like an Idolmasters mobile game or something, but it's like, okay, that's why like everyone thinks of Bandai and just goes, oh, like Tekken, like Elden Ring. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, these guys are like music kings because they've got all the arcades and stuff as well, right? Do you know what I mean? Like their history is like rooted in all these like music and rhythm games.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, like, well, the West is kind of like just falling behind in general with just like music games. And I think like a lot of ideas in general, I think like there's Riot's now owned by Tencent though, obviously. It's like what companies are there out there in the West that are really doing like stuff with music activations or collaborations that are really breaking barriers? I know like Epic's got Fortnite Festival and stuff like that, but there's nothing that I really see that makes me go, whoa, this is sick. But when I do see that, it's always from like, do you know what I mean? Like when I saw that concert in Sky, Children of the Light, like I saw that and was like, this is amazing. So there's all these other games and platforms that are doing cool stuff. But basically where I'm going with this is I speak to a lot of artists or like managers and stuff like that who have really talented songwriters and like really talented clients on their roster and they want to get into games, but their music, especially like companies that own massive catalogs, their music is not necessarily the right fit for games. Like, so how do they get in? In my opinion, it's like understand the VTuber market, understand the virtual artist market, see if you can do some kind of collaborations with companies that specialize in that kind of stuff.
I see.
Yeah, I do. Your songwriters doing this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think on that note, I do see like the VTuber markets as kind of like a second coming, right? Of the, music games integration. Because if it hasn't already happened, like like VTubers are now starting to become ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And how do you make sure that you stand out from the crowd? And music, would be one way of doing that. But that's it. I don't know why. I think today we still have that wall, between the two industries. I'll give you an example, Matt. Like I'm not gonna name who, but sometimes I do run into conversations where I'll be like, hey, would you be, to kind of help your game, would you be up for a music partnership with some of the K-pop acts that we work with before, so that it could elevate your fandom, and then blah blah blah, and then help with your retention, help bring in users. And I kid you not, like one of the CEOs actually said, well, I'm not sure. I got to protect my downsides. What if I, what if we do this music video and then I get 0 views? There are I kid you not, there are risk-averse CEOs out there with that kind of perspective. Like, what if I work with a K-pop act and I get 0 views?
Not gonna happen. Like, it's just
I'm like, geez, can you be any more negative? Like from a risk return perspective, surely, like what's more expensive, like staying up doing the same thing, expecting the same results, or taking a little bit of risk for that bigger returns, right? So, that's part of my frustrations in my journey right now. You would think it will be an easy sell, but no, it isn't.
No, it's not. But then if these are new areas that people are not familiar with, Do you know what I mean? It's like it's the same thing, but I see in a weird way, like all of this stuff now that's happening with K-pop and like J-pop to an extent, and then just like all this like hyper pop stuff that I don't even know what genre it fits into, but all the stuff that's at like 250 BPM in all of these insane rhythm games. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like din, 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 din. Like
Yeah.
kids nowadays are like gamers even are like getting into really out there genres of music that actually don't have that much representation outside of games, because it's almost like geek, like otaku music. Do you know what I mean? Like it is like, and I don't think
The
labels.
otaku culture, like that was
Yeah,
that's such a foreign concept to like
that's what
Warner,
I mean.
Universal, Sony, right?
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
they're not. The main labels are not getting into. Obviously, they've got subsidiaries that like do this kind of stuff, but I think the main labels like don't see what's happening there, and there's so
You know
much
what, Matt?
more.
Like you and I should find like a VC and like let's fucking like gobble up all these like otaku software. No, I kid you not, because if you look at the China music industry now,
Yeah,
like in terms of domestic repertoire, it's all like Douyin, TikTok song factories.
yeah.
And then if you look at the top three, is basically the top two are owned by Tencent Music Entertainment.
There you go. Yeah.
And then number three is Sony Music. Why?
Yeah.
Because for the past few years they've invested a lot in acquiring these viral song factories, and they're also distributing on behalf of ByteDance, Douyin.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's the strategy of the China music industry. You look at what's streaming and you acquire like related companies.
Exactly.
That's how you get market share.
Like, and that essentially is like, look at what's doing well and utilize data, but you need to find that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Which is like actually hard to find if you're not tapped into that scene, which I think is what the problem is. Like another thing that blows my mind is like when you look at the like I never knew what Vocaloids were until like 2 years ago when Hatsune Miku really started taking off in the Western stuff. Like that Hatsune Miku Colourful Stage, that rhythm game published by Sega on mobile, that's like one of the biggest rhythm games in the world now on mobile, and like barely anyone outside of the West like kind of really knows about. Sorry, anyone in the West really knows about it. Do you know what I mean? And that whole thing where all the music is like done by Vocaloid producers and stuff like that, and it just sounds again like unlike anything else, just really, really weird. And then I saw them do that collaboration with the Pokemon company where they put out like 18 songs or something, all produced by like Vocaloid producers. And I was listening to them and I was like, this is not the kind of stuff that I would ever stumble across normally. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, this is sick. Like this is like, I really like this just because of how weird and how quirky it is.
It won't, like for the light of day, it won't be on BBC Radio 1.
Oh no, you'll never hear about that stuff. But I think there's something else that we both know as well, where it's like this just, I think this goes back to as well, like Pokemon thing aside, going back to Hatsune Miku, considering how many people, and like even game journalists, without being like game journalists, because I used to be one, I've got a lot of friends who are game journalists, I think there is a knowledge gap, a massive knowledge gap amongst most mainstream games journalists of the mobile market, which is scary when you consider the mobile market generates more than nearly 50% of global gaming revenue. And I think a lot of the coolest trends and a lot of actually the biggest games in the video game industry in general are mobile games. But a lot of people,
point about like Gamescom, I haven't seen enough mobile representation. Down at Hall 6, it's still the big PC console games. I mean, Level Infinite was there, but they're really there more for their PC console games. But so I think there's a bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, and I don't know what needs to be done to fix that, because it's not like, I don't think it's a money issue in terms of visibility. Do you know what I mean? Because we know that these mobile companies like have a lot of money. Like if they wanted to throw loads of money for sponsorships or whatever, I mean, I think.
But you know what? I think mobile gaming companies, they're not that shit hot when it comes to brand marketing.
No, they are not. They are
right.
Not.
I think everything is like ROI driven. If I do this, what would it mean for my CPI and CPR? I think they're a little bit too scientific at the moment.
I completely agree with that. And I think that's probably why there is a lack of visibility, because they're probably like, why would we throw 250K for a slot at Game Awards or whatever else for a marketing campaign when we can pump that into UA and actually, do you know what I mean? Just get loads of money back from it. It's that. But then at the same time, it's like all of this cool stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
People are not really hearing about it. Like I still, again, like to talk about it again, I still go back to that Sky Children of the Light concert with Aurora, even though that was, I think the PS5 version of the game came out, or the PS4 version of the game came out at the same time as that concert. That was still a mobile game mainly, right? Do you know what I mean? And like, I jumped into this concert and I was like, this beats anything I've ever like attended from a concert perspective. And I'm like losing my mind about it online, trying to chat to other people who have like attended it, and none of my friends knew about it, kind of thing. But everyone sees these Roblox concerts, everyone sees these Fortnite concerts, but they don't see stuff like
we
that.
gotta find a way to Coachellify these kind of experiences.
Yeah.
You know, like, but yeah, no, I think just switching gears at the moment, I think another kind of interesting piece of news, like, I don't know whether you've been kind of keeping tabs on this. What do you think about this whole like HYBE and ADOR like debacle that's going on right now? Like, do you know what's going on with the?
No, tell me.
Well, you know, like New Jeans basically gave an ultimatum. It's like,
I did see this. Yeah,
if you don't reinstate our old CEO by September 25th, well, they weren't clear. Like they weren't clear what they're gonna do. But then they're like, oh, like we would wish something like we wish that, you know, HYBE would reinstate the old CEO by September 25th.
And I am by no means.
What's on September 5th? I'm like, what's going on September 25th?
I'm by no means like a K-pop expert or anything, so I'd like value your opinion on this. But for a K-pop group to speak out like that seems like super impressive. Is that right? Like, because normally it's all quite, the business of K-pop is quite closed doors, right? Do you know what I mean? In terms of artists themselves being speaking, like public facing and saying stuff business wise. So this struck me as like something's gone down. Like,
do you have a suspicion? Like, I'll tell you what my suspicion. Do you have a suspicion of like what might be going on?
No, I literally no idea.
Okay, so this is just like purely spitballing, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at like what's going on recently, so like Lisa got signed by, what is it, Epic Records, right? Sony. And then fairly recently, Jenny announced that she signed to Columbia Records, right? What if New Jeans are being courted now by the major labels?
Yeah, fair.
Why don't I buy you off? Like, and then you bring your beloved CEO over. Come to Warner.
Yeah.
Come to Universal.
Yeah.
You know,
so how does it work at the moment? Because I know whenever I search for like K-pop groups, there's always like a name attached to them, but I'm guessing they're just publishing records in like certain regions or whatever else. Like, is it still the actual talent agencies, like the big groups that retain complete ownership pretty much of these groups, and the labels just put stuff out if they need to, or if they're asked to even?
Yeah, well, the HYBE model is that they would own like all the publishing and mastering.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not sure what sort of kind of like get out clause or anything like that that's available. Like I'm not a lawyer, like I wouldn't know the details.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally they would like own everything, you know, that the group does. But I don't know like what the terms look like, what the duration looks like, you know, what our, you know. But yeah, it's I thought it was interesting, like how they made it so public about it. And
it's mad. It still blows my mind, that PUBG collaboration that they did, that just like
blows your mind as in with what way?
Just in terms of like, because I don't play PUBG, so I was like, I want to find some like gameplay footage to get an idea of like how the IP was like incorporated into the game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I basically just find a montage of stuff going wrong in terms of like people, because they had this setup where you could get on the stage and you could dance, and when you danced on the stage, songs would play and stuff like that. It's really, really cool, but it was still in battle royale, so you could still shoot each other. So there's basically a concert shooting, and I'm like, this is like kind of funny, but like this looks bad. Do you know what I mean? They've not put that thought into, like, for an artist that big as well, you'd think maybe they'd turn shooting off in certain areas, or maybe because I think the collaboration was basically they had to put out a corporate statement saying, because players were like upskirting the characters and shit and like posting images on Twitter and stuff, and it was like, please don't do this. And it's like, you would just put in like, why have you not?
So someone like Fortnite have obviously executed something like this way better.
Yeah. But I think they probably their
Fortnite's also
corporate,
shooting.
yeah.
Right. But they turn, I guess they would like turn off the shooting function and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think for like Fortnite's a little bit different because it doesn't look as realistic. Do you know what I mean? Where there's something about PUBG where it's got that slightly grittier art style. When the bullets hit, it sounds a bit more like traditional first person or third person. Do you know what I mean? So it just had like intensity that was a bit kind of like, but also I think when Fortnite do anything, when Epic do anything, they're probably so thinking of like a potential crisis. They're going to troubleshoot everything in advance. Whereas like, I think Crafton and like New Jeans for this were just like, yeah, it'll be something cool to do. And then players started doing all this really gross shit. And then it was like, oh yeah, this is quite bad for like New Jeans. Like it reflects badly on the IP. And it's like, should have thought about that in advance, should have made the costumes a certain way, should have turned certain things off. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but you know, I kind of take the view that maybe we should, you know, cut them off some slack. Like, isn't this like one of the first music integrations? But you know, clearly, yes, it was a bit of a brand slap, and two, probably not much kind of testing to preempt, you know, what was going to happen. But yeah, no, I'm sure the guys at Crafton would have learned a whole lot.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the actual collaboration itself, in terms of like the functionality of it and the interaction element of it, like it was all sick. It was really, really, really good. It's just a shame to see something that was done so cool end up in national news because of the wrong reasons. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Cool, man. I think we've got about like 5 minutes left. I don't want this to like go on for too long. I think like a 30 minutes thing would be pretty good. But I guess the other thing, like I just found out yesterday, you know, all this hype about Black Myth WuKong. If I look at my WeChat feeds, people are actually like, if I saw it correctly, people are actually buying or booking tickets to a Black Myth WuKong orchestra concert, and I'm going, bloody hell, that quick? Yeah. So I don't know whether you saw it or not, but apparently they actually had like this cadence of singles release, like of the soundtrack, like on Tencent Music Entertainment, where like 1 week they release a track, and then the lead up to the actual OST.
So what's the Tencent involvement then? Does Tencent earn a stake in the game studio?
I believe they do. I believe they do. I believe they have invested. I believe they have invested in game science. Yeah, and that's why they're probably ring fencing the whole consumer products experience now. Yeah.
We should have a separate chat at some point, because something I'd love to learn about is the disparity between social media platforms and how games are promoted and what kind of news gets out there. You mentioned WeChat there, which is obviously absolutely massive. Like, I don't use that. I don't have any access to that. But the same way I'm picking up news from Google News alerts and stuff like that, I imagine there's so much stuff floating around on WeChat regarding games in China and stuff specifically that I'm just not seeing. Like I had no idea about this concert series.
That's not the only area, right? Like even K-pop news in Japan.
Exactly.
Like there's a wall, you know, right now. There isn't like a Western lens. Or window, like where you can peek into like what's happening with the music game industry in these countries.
There was funny random collaboration that I found out about the other day, courtesy of a client. There's a new racing game that's just come out by Tencent. I forgot what it's called, but they just did a collaboration with a J-pop group called Perfume, I think, who are like from the 90s or something, just to launch the game. So again, like another cool example of a new game coming out, and Tencent just going, music, let's do something cool music wise.
Oh, that's pretty cool actually. Like, was there a reason why they decided to go with a band that is not?
I'm not too sure. Not that I could see of. Like, there might be, again, like, because it's a Japanese game, like they might be doing a 30th anniversary or whatever of like a album soundtrack, and it made sense to line something up games. Do you know what I mean? But
I would love for the day to come, and I'm sure that day would come very soon, which is, you know how like Netflix Stranger Things like brought out Kate Bush. Like, what would be like, you know, like it would be good to have like a game like example of doing that. So, you know, like
I've got very strong thoughts on this. I think the next Kate Bush Stranger Things moment, which was like probably the biggest thing that's ever happened for Sync, I think that next big moment will be in a video game, and I'm fairly confident it's going to
Maybe
be.
GTA.
Yeah, it's going to be GTA 6, man. Like, think of how many people are going to play that.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a certain scene within that game where they have a needle drop at a specific moment, like not like a radio song, but like a very specific moment where music's tied to it, I suspect that'll be the thing that we see streams go up and everything else. Like, but I think that'll happen in video games next.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, super exciting. So, Matt, thank you so much for the chat. Yeah, no, I'm experimenting with this format, and I'm going to be bringing on more guests. I'm going to bring in Kenny as well, kind of to see, you know, what we can chat about there. And maybe
Kenny's brilliant.
just bring in also other people within the music and gaming circle, and let's see where this takes us.
Love it, and yeah, pleasure catching up as always. Never anything not dull. It's always brilliant.
And good luck with your kid that's on his way. And I'm sure you'll be a bit different man the next time. Maybe a little bit more knackered. Maybe a little bit more knackered than before. But
hey, Eric, how you doing?
All right, mate. Thank you so much, Matt. We'll speak again.
Take care, dude.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.